My brother and his fiancée of nearly 2 years are planning a wedding that is an etiquette nightmare, and I'm not sure how to handle it. Posted by you/the Dreaming Myriad. This is going to be a wall of text, so I apologize in advance. My 26F brother Andrew, 22M, and his fiancée, Christy, 21F, have been planning their wedding for over a year now. The date is set for April 25th of 2015. Initially, she had asked me to be a bridesmaid, but after she also wanted my daughter to be a flower girl, my husband to be a groomsman, me to do her makeup and engagement photos as a gift to her, and help with details the day of, I felt it was too much on one plate. Also, quite frankly, I can't afford her very specific dress, floor-length ball gown, which she still has not selected, specific shoes, a tuxedo for my husband, a flower girl dress for my daughter, high-quality makeup in her skin tone, and over $500 in photo sittings and editing. It's just too much time and money that I don't have. I sat her and my brother down and gently let them know that I wouldn't be a bridesmaid, though I was honored she chose me, because I didn't think I'd be a good bridesmaid with so much on my plate. They seemed sad but took it well and, until recently, had no further problems. Fast forward to this past weekend. They came over for dinner and talked with me and my mom about their wedding plans. I'm just going to sum those ideas up here. They want to have their ceremony outside. We mentioned that it would almost certainly be freezing. On the same date this past year, it was 30 degrees with a 15 miles per hour icy wind and ice rain later in the day. Christy's response was, "Well, I should be warm in my dress, it's pretty heavy." They have a venue that has plenty of indoor area, so they can get married there in worst case scenario, but they basically have said unless it's snowing or pissing rain, it'll be outside. I'm sure her bridesmaids in their strapless dresses and flip-flops or slippers will love that. As for my 1-year-old daughter, I'm not forcing her to stay out in cold like that in a teen-length dress with no sleeves. I don't know how to politely say, I'm not torturing my daughter or risking her becoming ill because you want a spring wedding in a wintry month. As for the date, they refuse to change it. They've told us that April 25th has no significance, is not an anniversary, and has nothing to do with their relationship. But they will not change it, even though we've gently mentioned, hey, May should be much warmer and would definitely make it easier for an outdoor wedding, especially for your guests. Their response is that April 25th is the date, period. The guests don't matter because it's their day. Okay, fine, whatever. We'll bundle up, I guess. Their plan is to have the ceremony under a gazebo-type structure. A very old family friend got some online thing from some vague church so he could marry people. He loves it. We've all known him since we were young, and he offered to officiate my wedding and wrote a wonderful ceremony for a handfasting for my mom and dad's 25th anniversary/vow renewal, all completely for free. Andrew asked said family friend to officiate, and he accepted. Last night we told Christy and Andrew it's getting closer, so they need to meet up with the officiant so he can do an interview. They both asked, why? We explained that the officiant was a close family friend, that's why they asked him to do it, and he likes to get a feel for the both of you and your relationship so he can officiate a beautiful ceremony. They don't want that. They just want a general do you? Do you? You're now married. Okay. That seems to defeat the purpose of a personal family friend performing it, but if that's what they want. Anyway, then we asked what they were going to give the officiant for a gift. They both said nothing. No gift. Why do they need to give him a gift? They're also not paying him, as he's doing it for free. At this point, my mom and I are afraid to hear more. But we need to know what's going on. So after the ceremony, their plan is to go to a wedding luncheon. With the wedding party only. That would include his parents, her parents, me and the hubby, her bridesmaids, his groomsmen, and the flower girls/ring bearer. This would exclude the officiant and all the other guests, including her brothers and sisters, as well as my sister and brother. At this point, all other guests would be told to go get lunch, and I quote, wherever, and we'll meet back here in a couple hours. At this wedding luncheon, at a restaurant in the next town over that's about 20 minutes away, we are all supposed to foot our own bill. Then we drive back, and we, as in my family, including the ones not invited to the luncheon, set up the decor and everything else for the reception because Andrew and Christy will be getting ready. After we get everything taken care of, there will be cake cutting and dancing. And then the end on the wedding. No food, snacks, nibbles, cocktails, nothing like that will be provided during the course of this wedding. Andrew also dropped the bomb that my grandmother, my father's mom, would not be invited because she didn't remember who Christy was at my daughter's first birthday last month. The backstory on that? Let's start with the fact that she's 80. Then let's go on to the fact that she's met Christy once and only once, almost 2 years ago. Lastly, my grandma had 9 kids. Those 9 kids married? They all had a minimum of 4 children. Many of those children are now married and have children. My grandmother has over 65 grandchildren. I don't even know the exact number, I stopped keeping track years ago, about 10 of whom have recently or are about to get married. She's 80. She has a hard enough time keeping track of how many people are in her family, never mind what their names are. It was absolutely nothing personal that she didn't know Christy's name. She just forgot. It has been 2 years for Christ's sake. So despite her being the only living grandparent we have left, and despite her driving the hour here to make it to Andrew's school performances and sending birthday cards every year without fail to her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, Andrew included, she's now not to be invited. I know this is ranty, but all this plain, bald-faced rudeness is flooring me and I don't know how to handle it. My dad, once we told him his mom wouldn't be invited, was not only hurt but angry. He said he will not go if his mom is not invited. Andrew is insisting on not inviting any of the others from that side of the family, and with such high numbers I can understand, but at least inviting grandma would be polite, not to mention loving. My sister, my mom, and I put together a wedding planning book for them ages ago and gave it to them. It had tips for a small budget, etiquette, timelines, checklists, and a breakdown of what a basic wedding should have. We got info from multiple sources and spent the time collecting and printing it, but it's completely obvious they haven't looked at it at all. It's like they want this big and beautiful wedding, but they pick out anything that costs them money or means they have to work. Gifts for people who do us favors? Nah. Big princess wedding dress? Check. Supplying food and refreshment of some kind? Meh, they can go get Taco Bell or something. Exquisite floor-length gowns with exact matching specified cut and color for wedding party? Check. Paying for said gowns? Nah, too expensive for us, I'm sure everyone else can afford it. Am I being over the top? Is it just me? Or is this really ridiculous wedding behavior? I've been to maybe 6 weddings in my life, attended in 3, fully planned 1, and have helped plan another. I'm all for modern weddings where you throw the whole bride's family pays for this, groom's family pays for that out the window, but typically that cost shouldn't rest on your wedding party, guests, and pretty much anyone that isn't you. How do I explain to them the things that won't fly? I'm not freezing my infant because they're stubborn, and I'm certainly not going to pay for a tux, baby dress, makeup, dinner for me and my husband, and play pack meal to set up and take down their entire reception center. I don't care who you are, it's ridiculous and asking too much. Not that they asked if we would set up, they told us we would. I don't want to ruin their day. I want it to go well, I want everyone to enjoy themselves, but I can't force them to plan better. That's on them. So my question is how to handle it? Christy is super sensitive and takes literally any criticism as a personal attack, so I want to go delicately here. Also, Christy and I work together, so achieving peace here is very important. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I was all prepared to say it's their day, let them do what they want, because I'm not one for traditional weddings and such. However, they are wasting people's precious time here. No one is going to want to go to their wedding, leave to get lunch somewhere, and then come back several hours later to watch them dance and get cake. They are demanding a whole day for something that doesn't need it. They should just do a cake and punch thing directly after the ceremony, and be done with it if they don't want to serve a meal to their guests. Ops response. I guess that's where I'm at. Why rent this huge space and try to do the big wedding when what they seem to want is a small one? I don't understand, but they don't see anything wrong with that. Commenter 2. Are they paying for the wedding? Ops response. Her parents bought her dress and offered $2,000 to go towards anything they want. My parents offered to pay for the gazebo, their pick of the huge box of wedding things from a wedding I didn't go through with, and just all-around help. My dad is about to be laid off, so my parents can't afford much, but that hasn't stopped my mom from offering to sew flower girl and bridesmaid dresses, buying fabric swatches of their colors so they always have them on hand to pick out matching wedding stuff, and attempting to help with planning. Commenter 3. This is insane. Have they been hitting the sauce? Honestly, if I were in your shoes, I would tell them your boundaries. Yes, I will help with, say, putting on makeup, but the bride needs to pay for all of it. No, I will not let my daughter be out in inclement weather. As for all the oddities and rudeness you've pointed out, maybe you should let someone else step up and talk with them. As your parents are partially footing the bill, I think they can address at least a few things that involve them. Ops response. Discussing it with my mom, it seems like this is the most reasonable option. Commenter 4. Is your brother anything like you? Has he changed to be like her? Does he pander to her every whim? You sound well-adjusted, and everything you say has merit. A wedding is their day, true, but attending it as a guest is literally a gift to the couple in itself. You care enough to attend and be a part of it, that's what they should be grateful for. It seems like they only care for themselves, and everyone else is just their cash cow. The two people you've described seem unspeakably selfish. I understand you work with this girl, and he's your brother, but both are young and naive sounding in your post. I am younger than yourself, but older than these two, and I don't consider myself ready for marriage. These two don't seem so either. While you can go for the don't make it your problem approach described here, if my 21-year-old sister was acting this way, I'd be laying some knowledge on her. Perhaps get the couple and your parents together, the core family, and make them listen to your concerns. This wedding will definitely make them lose face with your extended family, and I think usually it's best to avoid that. Op's response. And therein lies the problem. They both are immature. Andrew has always been a little less mature, so when he met Christy, we didn't think it was a big deal that she was too. He definitely caters to her. She'll rip his head off in front of people at work when he brings her lunch, or even in front of my parents in their own home, and he responds with a yes dear or sorry honey. She chose the date, and I think he won't even talk about changing it with her because he doesn't want to fight. Honestly, I don't think they are even remotely ready to be married, but approaching them with that would be a surefire way to get Christy to hate me and Andrew to feel alienated. I try to get info from Andrew and then use that to gently encourage them to strengthen their relationship, because I really do want them to be happy. But I think they've both encouraged habits in one another that have only served to prevent maturity and growth. For instance, Andrew was offered free couples counseling through his work. They had been having trouble communicating, so Andrew thought it would be good to go. Christy refused to go after the first visit because it was uncomfortable and she didn't like it. I mentioned that counselors don't solve all problems, but they can give you tools to succeed, like solving conflict, healthy confrontation methods, and communicating with I statements rather than you. I crap you not, this is what she said to me. Yeah, well, I don't like that because I like to blame people for my problems. Plus, when we fight, I don't like talking it out, I just want to hide in the bedroom. Basically, I just said, well, you'll never have a healthy relationship that way, and left it at that. But Andrew won't push issues like that. He just says she doesn't want to and leaves it there instead of finding a way to get her to go. We can't stop them from getting married, even though we know it would be better for them in the long run. So we try to be supportive, but I think my family and I need to start teaching him and her how we should be treated, starting with putting our feet down on ridiculous wedding demands. Op adds an edit to her post. I sincerely appreciate all of you taking the time to weigh in and offer advice. Just knowing that I'm not the only one thinking this is rude and crazy helps. After talking to my parents and showing them this thread, they decided to talk to Andrew this weekend about a select few things. They should put that they're not serving any food or refreshment on the invite so people know they won't be fed, as this isn't typical for a wedding. Grandma really should be invited. The officiant, since he is an old friend and is doing it for free, needs a gift. As for me, I'm going to set some boundaries with this wedding, mainly with what I will and won't do and how my daughter will be kept warm during the wedding. I will post a real update on the convo with my brother after it happens. Thanks again, everyone. Update 4 days later. So Christy actually texted my mom in a panic on Tuesday night because her mom had added some names she didn't know to the guest list of her side of the family. My mom just told her that she could help her and had her come over to talk. Christy brought over her wedding planning book and sat down with me and my mom. My mom asked her about the wedding plans, confirming that they intended to have no meal, that all the wedding party would pay for their own meal, etc. Christy confirmed. My mom, the saint of offering constructive criticism in the nicest way possible, said to Christy, I worry about this plan potentially hurting feelings, on your family's side as well. Do you mind if I explain why I think that? Christy was pretty receptive. She said she didn't want anyone to have their feelings hurt and asked what was offensive. My mom posed this rhetorical situation. I guess you got this idea from my sister. Okay, Christy. Imagine your parents invited you over for Christmas. You drive the 3 hours to their house, you dress in your best Christmas sweater, and you show up with gifts. Everyone is happy to see you and you hug and visit for a while. Your parents and some of your family then tell you that they are going to dinner. You can't come, but you can go to McDonald's or something. They let you know they'll be back in about 2 hours, so just hang out in the yard or wherever. When they get back, they let you back in the house so you can watch them eat the Christmas cookies they made for themselves, open only their presents, and play some Christmas music. Once that's all done, they say, thanks for coming, see you next year. And boot you out the door. Would your feelings be hurt? My mom is a funny and lighthearted storyteller, so at this point, Christy had laughed a couple times, with a kind of sad note in there, and also said, oh, several times as well. Christy spoke up and said she absolutely understood how that related to their current wedding plans. Seriously, it was like until that moment, she could see literally nothing wrong with their plans. She explained that they pretty much only had the budget of the $2,000 her parents were giving her to work with, and she was afraid a meal would cost too much. She also expressed frustration that Andrew didn't really help with the planning, he just kept saying, "Whatever you want," when she asked for his opinion. My mom and I explained that Andrew probably just wanted the day just the way she wants it because it's always stressed that it's the bride's day. We gave her some tips for engaging Andrew to really get his input. At this point, she had really broken down and we were able to see her a little more for what she is, a young and naive 21-year-old girl, granted, with a bit of a passive aggression issue, in way over her head, running on little to no help with an event she has no idea how to plan. After chit-chatting a little bit, we talked about different ways to pull off an affordable wedding. We pitched ideas, and she either said she loved it, she'd think about it, or no. She liked the idea of having a small ceremony with the 50 people they really wanted to be there. After that, there would be a luncheon, provided by them this time. After that would be the reception, where the guests her mom added and anyone else that wasn't really close to them could come to celebrate. There would be a light refreshment for that. She is really not concerned about what the luncheon is, but would like it to be as low cost as possible, but not tacky either. My mom, my sister, Christy, and I are going to brainstorm in the next few weeks and look at prices to see what we can find within their budget. Then we'll all get together and let Christy, and Andrew if he decides to join, decide which ideas she likes best for both the luncheon and the reception refreshment. Oh, and as for Grandma, when Christy handed over the guest list from Andrew, she was on there at the bottom. We hadn't talked about it, but he must have realized that Grandma deserved to be at his wedding. On my part, I mentioned to Christy I was worried about my little one in inclement weather, and she said they had decided they would plan on doing the ceremony indoors because it was likely the weather would be bad. She still wants to reserve the gazebo just in case it's nice, but she seems much more realistic about the weather situation now. I'm also going to buy grocery store makeup for her makeup for the wedding, nice stuff but not too pricey. And I've let her know that my hands will be full with the baby, so takedown and setup of decor and such will be next to impossible for me. Both my mother and I suggested requesting the help of their bridal party, groomsmen and bridesmaids, to help with the things that needed to be done the day of. She said she was sure that they would be willing to help, but that she'd ask. Many of them are young, single, and childless, so hopefully they'll be more able to help out. She also was asking about a bridal shower. One of her sisters had already volunteered to throw the dough party, but no one in her family had made mention or offered to throw her a bridal shower, so my mom and I are talking about doing that. When I was, almost, married, I had 2 bridal showers, and people were offering to throw one for me left and right. I feel badly that her family is not doing that. All in all, I feel much more comfortable with what I've agreed to do for them, and I'm happy that we were able to help Christy. In the original thread, you/AmItheAsshole solo mentioned that all their plans had been met with negativity. I think this caused them, especially Christy, to shut down and just say, "Screw everybody, this is our day." Really, they just don't know how to plan a wedding, and we all could see that. Rather than seeing that we wanted to help, I think they just heard the negativity of it. Sitting Christy down and explaining that we had some ideas that we thought could help, and that we in no way wanted to force her to do anything she didn't like, well, it helped a lot. We let her know that she should say no if she hated an idea or if she felt we were getting too involved. We still think they need to plan their own wedding, but we've also become more approachable for help in this regard too. No, we're not going to plan the wedding, but if they're stumped on something or want input, we've offered to help if we can. We'll see as time goes on whether they stick with it or if they fall back into the we don't care about anyone else mode. I still feel that they have a lot of growing up to do, and hopefully they can do it together and build a lasting relationship for the rest of their lives. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Your mom handled it so much better than I would have. Commenter 2. It's awesome that you guys could all sit down together and help her come to these realizations. Hopefully, the day will go off without a hitch, be tasteful and frugal, and everyone will have a good time. Second update 4 months later. So much has happened in these past 2 weeks. Last Sunday, Christy told Andrew she wanted to come over and talk with him and my mom. Andrew assumed it was about wedding stuff because they were getting only a couple months away from the wedding, and they had not really done anything. So they could hear and go to talk in private with my mom. I was playing with the baby in the front room, and I could hear yelling and arguing coming from the back room they were in. I was worried they were having a brawl back there, but just figured they'd work out whatever the hell was going on. Well, they both left, and my mom fills me in. Christy didn't want to talk wedding. She brought Andrew over to tell him, in front of my mom with no prior warning, that she wasn't sure if she wanted to marry him anymore. She wrote a list of 4 things to show my mom that Andrew is doing or has done wrong that she thought couldn't be resolved. My mom told her to keep her list to herself and that they needed to go to couples counseling. At this point, Andrew got really upset because he had tried already to go to couples counseling with her 6 months ago, and she didn't like it because it was awkward, and I hate taking responsibility for stuff. I'd rather just blame someone else. For the record, that is not a joke or exaggeration, she literally said that out loud and didn't see a problem with it. Andrew also blew up because I guess when he had proposed to her, she had been hinting at it and pushing for it. He basically asked her why she wanted him to ask her just so she could break it off 2 months before. Anyway, I obviously knew they were having issues and just kept my space. Even though Christy seemed to be trying to pull my mom into it, my mom agreed it was their business and told them to get into therapy ASAP if they wanted to stay together. My brother gets counseling free through work, so they went to one session last week. I don't know how that went, I didn't ask. Oh, I forgot to mention. The Thursday before Christy called off the wedding, she went on an all-day hike alone with an old friend. He had been out of state for the past 2 years, Mormon missionary, and she wanted to catch up. They spent the whole day together in the mountains alone, and she posted on Facebook about how awesome it was. It actually pissed off almost everyone close to her, even her sister who thinks she does no wrong, because she's been vocal in the past about how opposed she is to Andrew even talking to a member of the opposite sex. She would literally yell at him and harass him about talking to old friends who just happened to be female or mentioning that he saw a friend in the grocery store and said hi. But no, it's okay for her to spend a whole day in the mountains with a dude. I complained to my sister but said nothing, until that Saturday, Valentine's. I asked Andrew what his plans were for the night, and he said, "Oh, Christy and her friend and I are going to dinner." Friend? He says, "Yeah, Zach, he just got back from a mission." So, same guy. I asked him if he was okay sharing his Valentine's Day dinner with another guy, and he basically said yeah, they're friends, so I want to meet him and he wants to meet me. I was shocked, really, but Andrew is trusting of her, so he's never been possessive like she's been with him. Next morning, Christy isn't sure if she wants to marry Andrew anymore. I work with Christy, for those who don't remember, and the next day she's telling people that she and Andrew haven't broken up. Yet. That it's just the wedding. For now. The day after that, she chopped all of her hair off in this really strange and unflattering haircut. Again, this is a thing she would get after Andrew for. He's always enjoyed putting bright colors in his hair, and he wanted to be daring and do his whole head a muted navy blue. She told him no. But then it's okay for her to go chop her hair to 1 inch long in the back and maybe 3 inches in the front. The day after that was the therapy session. Andrew seemed optimistic. That weekend, this past one, Christy mentions at work that she is going to visit her mom for the weekend. Her mom has always disliked Andrew, and I figured her mom would talk her out of the relationship permanently, but my brother was so tortured at this point that I thought that might be for the best. Cue this morning. I asked Christy at work how her weekend went, and she says, "Not good. Andrew and I broke up." I just said I was sorry about that and went back to work because I was not expecting that response and didn't know what on earth to say to that. I had no idea that they broke up, so I was then worried about how my brother was doing. She then goes on to say this massive paragraph, but the rest of the weekend was okay. Me and Zach hung out until way late Saturday night just talking. He had his homecoming in the morning. He's the only person that really knows what's going on with me and Andrew. He was really nice and just listened to me. We were laughing because I found a gray hair in his hair, and he was totally freaking out. Then we went to the homecoming in the morning, of course. I only went for the main meeting, so then I went to his house and waited for him to get home from church, which was awkward, but it was only his aunt and grandma there. But then we had the luncheon afterward and whatever, and it was fun. I was tired when I got home, so I took a nap. At this point, my work friend Alicia is just staring at me, waiting for my response. She looked at me like I was a grenade with a pin out. I couldn't even gather a thought or sentence to say, so Alicia pipes in and says, "I thought you were visiting your family this weekend?" See, I was. That's who I stayed with. Well, did you even spend time with your family? See, well, I did talk with my mom on Saturday and stuff. But mainly it was about Zach's home thingy? See, well, yeah. Christy continued to babble about various things, like how she was now going to head to California because her friend had offered to fly her out there. She couldn't go before because Andrew couldn't afford the airfare to go too. She was just so damn happy, it made me sick. When her sister arrived at work, yeah, I work with 2 of these beaches, they talked about Christy moving in with her sister and when and how and all that jazz. I stepped out to call my mom, and she told me immediately that she was helping Andrew move his stuff out of the apartment as we spoke. I told her to do it fast before Andrew changed his mind. My mom packed up all the wedding stuff Christy had not been coming over to work on and dropped it at our work once she'd finished helping Andrew. Like, she literally dropped the box and shoved it towards Christy with her foot. I think my mom did not appreciate Christy's cheery, OMG hi, that she had used when my mom walked in the door. My mom was taking my sick little girl to the doc since I couldn't get time off work, so she came for the insurance card and left after. Christy and her sister went in the back room and tittered for a while after the unceremonious drop-off from my mom. How she's a horrible person and all that, I'm sure. I somehow remained calm through all this. I mean, I'm at work. This is personal crap, and I didn't want to talk about it in a professional place. But also, I'm so effing relieved. Christy is messed up. Her whole family has narcissism issues, and I'm so glad my brother doesn't have to tolerate her constant criticism, gaslighting, and verbal abuse anymore. He's now back home, and he is doing so well considering how fresh this all is. He told me he realized last week that it probably was over, but he wanted to give the therapy a shot. I think he also wised up about Zach. Near the end of my shift, I went to the bathroom. Thinking that urination somehow rendered me deaf while only being feet away, I heard Christy complaining that Andrew had just texted her and said, "So were you really staying with your parents? Or with someone else?" She was denying doing anything physical with this guy but did admit she'd been spending all her time with him lately. She definitely lost her effing weird peppy attitude after that text. I think it's because you can't play poor me when you're guilty of carrying on an emotional relationship with another person. Anyway, writing it all out gives me a peaceful feeling. I'm so heartbroken for Andrew, but he dodged a bullet. He wants to continue pursuing personal therapy through work so he can resolve the problems he felt he had in their relationship, thus avoiding them in a future relationship. I no longer have to tolerate a toxic person in my personal life. However, I do have to tolerate her and her borderline demonic sister at work. I feel I can handle this by simply reminding them to keep their personal crap home and be professional at work. I'm pretty sure I can handle it if they start being disrespectful towards him or my family at work. /relevant comments. Commenter. It was awkward, and I hate taking responsibility for stuff. I would rather just blame someone else. Holy crap, people say that? Andrew definitely dodged a bullet. Ops response. This is something she said on multiple occasions in front of me and my coworkers. It's just surreal to me. I don't understand how you can seem so self-aware, yet continue to behave in a fashion you are admitting is wrong. Commenter 2. This girl is an immature, self-centered piece of mess. Try to convince Andrew to block her on everything and not talk to her again, so there's less chance they will get back together. She might try to come crawling back to Old Faithful once the thing with Zach falls through. Ops response. I'm already getting that vibe. Luckily, Andrew is pretty steadfast to his word. He's dated a complete crazy before and did so well when she came crawling back. I'm sure Christy will be back as well. I think Zach is new and exciting, but the novelty will wear off. They do still have to sort out their lease, but once that's done, he has no reason to talk to her at all. We got everything out of the place today, so he gets to come back to the family home, back in his old room, and she gets to go to a now half-empty apartment alone. It'll set in pretty quick that he's not coming back. Commenter 3. He's dated a complete crazy before. So this is a trend for him? Maybe he should get into counseling on his own to find out why. Ops response. The complete crazy was his first serious girlfriend. He actually had a couple of really healthy, though short, relationships between the first crazy and this crazy, but those all ended because they decided friends were better. He does want help from the therapist to spot early warning signs of incompatibility and unhealthy attitudes. He also wants to learn when to quit. Really, all of us kids have had at least one relationship that has seriously sucked. I think it's because our parents had their conflicts and always resolved them. My mom taught us compromise and conflict resolution when we were young. All issues were solved by talking it out, apologizing, and hugging afterward. This has been awesome help for me in my life, but when you're in love with someone who doesn't compromise or resolve conflicts, it can be detrimental. You're trying to compromise, but don't realize those things don't work if only one person is doing all the compromising and apologizing. We've all just had to learn that you should work at having successful relationships, within reason. Commenter 4. Oh wow. Andrew is really lucky, and you and your mom sound like pretty awesome people. The only annoying thing is now having to deal with them at work, but it sounds like you have a solid plan for any drama. I hope she plans on converting to Mormonism soon though. Nothing is gonna happen between her and her boy toy Zach until that happens. Ops response. My boss has made it clear on several occasions that he won't tolerate gossip and personal attacks at work. That hasn't stopped Christy's sister several times, but they're so passive-aggressive that if you say anything about them being inappropriate, they shut up and do things like slam doors instead. Maturity levels run super high in her family. Commenter 5. This girl is nuts. Willfully so, meaning, she isn't actually crazy, but is so self-centered and deluded that she chooses to act like a sociopath to people she claims to love. In regards to her deserved justice, I think she will get a bit of a wake-up call with Zach. A returned Mormon missionary might date and flirt with a girl like her, but unless she is willing to turn her life upside down and convert and stuff, I very much doubt she will end up marrying Zach either, though correct me if I'm wrong. I just can see her getting very upset when the man she left Andrew for tells her she isn't right for him either, and I'm a bit ashamed to say it's making me feel warm and fuzzy. Best of luck to you and your family up. It sounds like your brother is lucky to have such a loving support system, even if he was unlucky in love. I'm glad he's pursuing therapy, as I personally understand destructive patterns in dating. Op's response. She is basically an ex-Mormon. In assuming he would never date or marry her, I think you're correct. She's not a virgin, lived with a man out of wedlock for a year, and in many young Mormon eyes, she's used goods. I completely disagree with that mindset, but in her case, I get the warm fuzzies thinking about it as well.